Kids at Madison, Sun Prairie, Janesville, and 120 more districts are getting a snow day, and we are all getting up to 5 more inches before all is said and done.
Conditions are deteriorating quickly this morning as more traffic hits the road. I'm Josh Sprider live just ahead. Team coverage starts now.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning. We want to start right away with team coverage of the biggest snowstorm so far this season. Hattie's going to tell us where it's heaviest and when it's expected to end.
That's right. Josh Sprider's been out with the plow trucks all morning long, has the latest on your morning commute. And honestly, it's still a question of who has school, not who doesn't. Christina Laurie will break that down. First, though, we want to start with Hattie. Good morning, Hads.
Good morning. We're looking at snow continuing for the area early today. Here's a look at our alert day that goes through the morning hours. Snow will be heavy at times this morning. I've measured about 5.5 inches in the backyard weather patio. We're going to add another 3 to 5 inches through the morning yet, so snow will stay heavy. Winter weather bulletins stay intact this morning. They expire in the western part of our viewing area at 9 o'clock. They go until noon for the rest of the region. Now, here's a look at Doppler track this morning. We are talking about some pretty heavy snow. You can see those darker blue shaded colors extending from Monroe up until Madison. That is some pretty heavy snow. Also a band of heavy snow from the Dells back towards Prairie du Chien. Visibility may be reduced as well within those heavier bands of snow. The back edge of the snow is working its way through central Iowa, still a ways off. So we have, again, snow here in Madison for several hours yet. Here, temperatures will hold pretty steady today in the upper teens to low 20s with a northwesterly wind. Roads are snow covered and slippery this morning. I know I was sliding around a little bit on my way into work. You're definitely seeing more colors on the traffic map than we normally see at this time of the morning. Highway 14 and Verona Road are pretty slow as you head north towards the Beltline. Also a little slow on the interstate right around the interchange with the Beltline. There you can see around our viewing area, again, Highway 14 slow even heading into Rock County. So take it easy this morning. Plan some extra time to get to your destination. Josh Sprider has been on the roads all morning long, so we'll send it back out to him. Josh, how are things looking right now?
Pads, good morning. We are headed west on the Beltline right now. We just passed Gammon Road, and that visibility is decreasing. We'll give you a closer look at what we're seeing right now. You can see one of the lanes is actually pretty clear as a plow just went through here, but a lot of these stretches still are dealing with a lot of snow cover. And it's kind of that heavier, thicker snow as we've been talking about, which makes it a little bit trickier for driving. You kind of find yourself slipping and sliding a little bit within that slush. We've talked to Dane County Dispatch, and they have reported numerous slide-offs from overnight. We've seen a bunch of emergency vehicles also responding to those crashes. A thing to remember, if you are traveling, although officials are encouraging you to stay home, if you do happen to slide off of the road, stay in your vehicle and call for help right away. Don't try to be that hero. Stay there, and it might take a little bit for those emergency vehicles to get to you because they are responding to so many. A couple other things, if you are headed out, make sure you have a full tank of gas and also have a lot of windshield wiper fluid. You've probably heard our windshield wipers throughout the morning, but a lot of that slush and that snow has been freezing on the windshield, making for a little bit trickier conditions. If you are headed out, again, we don't encourage you to do so, but officials say to be patient. And of course, remember that everyone is trying to get to their destination, and be kind to others. Again, we are out here live on the Beltline this morning. Just going past or getting close to University right now. Conditions are deteriorating, and not a lot of traffic right now, but I would imagine it's going to be getting worse as rush hour continues to ramp up here. Our Christina Laurie is live in studio right now with more on the school closings. And Christina, I can see why a lot of these schools have decided to call it for today.
Certainly, Josh, your report really showed that. I hope you and Brian stay safe out there on the roads. Right now, there are at least 120 school districts across southern Wisconsin that have canceled classes for today, including Madison schools. Many of those districts span both suburban and rural areas, like the Middleton Cross Plains School District. We talked to that district's director of communications, who said several factors go into the decision to cancel classes, including when the snow is arriving, whether crews can clear the roads in time for buses and cars, what driving driving conditions will be like when it's time to pick up students from school, and whether or not winds and visibility will be an added problem. Before storms, area superintendents hold several conference calls with the National Weather Service to make a decision together. They say although they try to make that call in a day in advance, oftentimes like today that doesn't or can't happen. As for UW schools, the Wisconsin campus just announced on Twitter within the last 30 minutes they are expecting classes to go on as usual. And as for Madison College, they're closed right now but will open at 1 o'clock. So students at both those schools, pack your boots.
All right, we appreciate your reporting. Christina Laurie here in the studio and Josh Breiter out on the roads for us this morning. Thank you both.
All right, and if you are heading out on the roads this morning, law enforcement asking you to slow down after an officer was nearly hit by a car when it lost control in a storm up north. This is video of Fond du Lac County posted to the Sheriff's Department Facebook page yesterday. You can see that deputy literally had to jump out of the way when that car lost control on the ice. No one was hurt, but with this kind of weather in our area this morning, you saw Josh's report. It's a reminder to slow down and pay attention to the roads.
The snow is already affecting how quickly fire trucks and ambulances can respond to emergencies. In Sun Prairie, a family is out of their home after a fire spread from their garage to their house and caused extensive damage. You're seeing some of that here. The call came in just after 9 last night, but crews were delayed by snow on the roads. 2 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Both were treated and released. Sun Prairie's assistant fire chief says that the weather was a factor in just how quickly crews were able to get to the scene.
You know, the road conditions were slippery, so driving down here, we had to take our time getting down here. It all just adds an extra factor that makes it a little more difficult.
There's no word yet on what caused that fire.
It's emergencies like that that's prompting this next reminder from Madison Water Utility. When you head out to shovel after the storm, they're asking that you clear any snow that builds up around your neighborhood fire hydrant. There are more than 9,000 hydrants within city limits. Crews say having them cleared can make all of the difference during those fire calls. And we want to remind you that our First Alert Weather and Traffic app is free on all of your mobile devices. You can see in real time how long this snow is going to last, plus up to the minute traffic information. Just search Channel 3000 First Alert Weather and Traffic to download that app.
Outside of the weather this morning, our other big story comes from the state capitol, where we are hoping to learn how Governor Tony Evers plans to withdraw the state from a lawsuit over the Affordable Care Act. Governor Evers talked about those plans in his first State of the State address last night. Withdrawing from that suit, however, will require legislative approval. Republicans passed that requirement during last month's lame duck session. Governor Evers also laid out plans for his first budget that includes more funding for public schools, an expansion of Medicaid, and a tax cut for families making less than $150,000 a year.
An economy that works for all of us, healthier communities, more money for our schools and kids, better roads and infrastructure. That is what the people of Wisconsin expect from us, and that is what the people of Wisconsin deserve.
The governor is also calling on Republican lawmakers to consider his administration's budget rather than drafting one of their own.
Republican leaders are questioning how they would pay for some of the proposals Governor Evers made last night. They tell News 3 they're disappointed in the overall tone the governor took in his speech, and we're hoping to work together. Republicans are also asking whether it's even legal for Governor Evers to ask Attorney General Josh Kaul to drop out of the Affordable Care Act lawsuit.
One of the first things out of the gate that he directed the Attorney General to do was to violate the law and to withdraw from the ACA against state statutes. So that's concerning to us.
Probably a better question for the Attorney General. I'm not sure what Josh Kaul is going to do now, because it's kind of been put him in a strange place. We'll see if I don't know what impact it'll have ultimately.
Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald is also warning Governor Evers to give up on his plan to expand Medicaid. Democratic leaders, meanwhile, are applauding his efforts, calling it a new era for Wisconsin.
As we mentioned, Attorney General Josh Kaul will be responsible for the process of withdrawing Wisconsin from the Affordable Care Act lawsuit. But to do it, he will need approval of a legislature with a Republican majority.
We will be, as we consider this issue and act in accordance with the law, that's obviously a relevant piece of legislation that will be pertinent to our analysis.
All right, today maybe not the best day to take your bike to work.
I would think not.
Once the snow stops, maybe you'll want to bust out those fat tires. I know Danica's thinking about doing it.
If I had them.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at Madison's plans to invest in carpooling and green morning commutes.
And you are looking live this morning at the, we're having a little bit of delay here. We have the Fat Bike Fat Tire Bikes right here.
There we go.
We want to take a live look, though, in Boston, where it won't be wicked awesome, digging the snow. The system we are seeing now will hit the East Coast as rain. Not the case here. Hattie's full forecast is next on News 3 This Morning.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. Snow continues to fall at a pretty good rate right now on the west side of Madison and across most of southern Wisconsin. I predict that those snow hills are going to be pretty busy later on today. This is a great sledding snow. Here's a look at your winter weather bulletins that are still in effect. That winter storm warning continuing for most of the area. It goes until 9 o'clock for southwestern Wisconsin, until noon for the rest of us. So we have several more hours before this snow comes to an end. And again, we've added about 2 inches of snow since we went on the air at 4:30. We will continue to add to that yet this morning. These numbers a little bit smaller than they have been over the last hour, just because they're taking out what has already fallen. So again, another 2 to maybe 4 inches of snow expected for southern Wisconsin. Here's a look at the snow totals then. When you go back to yesterday, the storm total is going to range from 5 to 10 inches for southern Wisconsin. It is only impacting the southern part of the state, but you can see that some areas are getting some pretty heavy snow right now. In between Camp Douglas and the Dells, right along the interstate, the snow is coming down pretty hard right now. We're also seeing some heavier bands of snow work their way into southern Wisconsin from Madison down towards Lake Geneva. The pretty heavy snow right now. Now the back edge of the snow is still back in Iowa, so again, we expect snow for several hours yet. Here's a live look from the Edgewater Skycam. Not able to see much from that Skycam shot this morning. Visibility is less than a mile here in Madison at the airport, maybe a little less than that on the west side of town. Visibility has improved a little bit in the Dells to about 1.25 miles. Our temperatures currently are in the teens to around 20 degrees, so it's not terribly cold outside this morning. A little bit of a wind to factor in. We're looking at wind speeds around 5 to 10 miles per hour right now. Enough to send those wind chills, though, down into the single digits in some locations. So plan some extra time. That snow continues this morning. Here's 7:30 on our future track forecast model. The snow is still pretty widespread across the region. As we go towards the 10 o'clock hour, that's when we start to see some improvement, especially in southwestern Wisconsin. And that clearing line will continue to work its way through the region by about lunchtime. So things winding down for the lunch hour. It'll take a little while, though, to clean up those roads after that heavy snow. Temperatures will then hold steady in the low 20s through the afternoon, dropping back into the single digits tonight, though, with clear skies for a time and all of this fresh snow on the ground. It's going to be a cold start tomorrow morning. Sounds like the plow has arrived here at News 3. It'll take them quite a while to clear the parking lot. Again, we've gotten almost 6 inches of snow so far at the station. Take a look at that extended forecast. Once we get through with this snowstorm, an Arctic blast is headed our way. Double-digit overnight low temperatures below zero, barely making it back to zero on Friday. So dangerously cold conditions. That's why alert days are in the forecast for the end of the week. Now let's get a look at those traffic maps this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. The roads are in pretty rough shape right now. The Beltline moving very slow, and it is snow covered. Just make sure you give yourself plenty of extra time and drive with caution. Here in Dane County, most, if not all, the roads are covered with snow as well. Volume is increasing, though, on Verona Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline. No crashes showing up downtown and on campus. And other main routes heading into the city, they're moving with no major crashes, but expect delays if you're to travel today at all. With your First Alert Traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
All right, thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Josh. Take it slow out there today. 6:16 your time now. The city is getting one step closer to providing important mental health resources to some of our neighbors in the Hmong community. Today, Madison's Community Services Committee could finalize a contract with the Anessis Center for Marriage and Family Therapy. That $115,000 agreement is meant to replace the old Kashia house that Journey Mental Health used to run. The resources are primarily aimed at helping the elderly Hmong population who might have specific challenges and needs.
Here's a reason to be proud of your kids this morning, if you didn't already have one. More than 6,000 students across the state are currently trained in CPR. CPR in schools started back in 2016 with the goal of making sure Wisconsin schools are offering high-quality CPR training for students. That's because when someone has a heart attack, the chance of survival falls 10% with every minute until CPR begins. Unfortunately, the grant supporting this program is running out soon, but that money did help more than 330 schools train their students in those life-saving measures. Families living on Madison's southeast side could soon have a new neighborhood center to use. The city's already budgeted $2 million to build the new Bridge Lake Point Community Center. That would replace the center on Lake Point Drive just off West Broadway. The hope is to accommodate more activities for kids and parents living around there. The Finance Committee will start the process of getting bids for that development at its meeting tonight.
The city also looking at investing more into promoting carpools, biking, and walking here in Madison. City planners want to accept more than $180,000 worth of federal funding to run the Rideshare Etc. program. That program works with employers to look into carpooling and public transit options, and it helps with initiatives that encourage ride-sharing, buses, biking, and walking. Madison's Transportation Committee will talk about that grant at its meeting tonight.
That group will also discuss a $1 million bicycle center that would be built about a block down from the Capitol. It would be part of the Judge Doyle Square project on South Pinckney Street. This would have space for at least 118 bicycles and be accessible, that is, to members around the clock. Those members would have to pay $250 a year to be able to use the lockers, showers, and space there. There would also be a wash station for bikes and mechanics on hand for tune-ups. The city's lease with the Freewheel Bicycle Company is up for approval tonight.
All right, 6:18 your time now. So meteorologist Chris Reese might be more excited than your kids are on this snow day.
I don't know about that.
Coming up, he's going to do some science experiments to show us what kind of snow we're seeing. I mean, he and the kiddos do have to know if it's packy enough for a snowman. That's when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning from the patio. The snow is coming down pretty hard right now on the west side of town. Winter storm warnings continue this morning for most of the area, and they will be allowed to continue until noon for Dane County and Madison, as well as Janesville and Milwaukee. Here is a look at what the radar map looks like this morning. The snow is pretty widespread for the southern part of the state, and there are some heavier bands of snow embedded within that wide band of snow. Heavier right now just north of the Dells, in between Camp Douglas and the Dells. A pretty heavy band of snow working its way through Dane County as we speak as well. So the snow will continue to accumulate. We're looking at an additional 2 to maybe 3 or 4 inches across southern Wisconsin before the snow comes to an end by lunchtime today. So here's a look at our current temperatures. We're in the upper teens in most locations this morning. Temps are not expected to move too far today, only into the low 20s this afternoon, so holding nearly steady through the day. But boy, it's a pretty snow this morning. We'll send it over to Chris. Chris, what are you seeing?
Yeah, that's right. We are out in the snow this morning, whether it's a fresh powder or more so a heavier slush. That's what a lot of people want to know, because that does impact how you interact with the snow. Now, I want to start with a little experiment. I'm actually going to make fresh powder for the snow, as if there's not enough around me. So what I do is I take my little instant snow. I'm going to put it in the bowl that has some real snow in it. Then what I'm going to do is essentially add a little bit of water to it. And so you'll actually see with a little bit of water, that becomes snow rather quickly. And so it doesn't look like a whole lot this time. I didn't add enough powder in there. But here's the deal. Once that turns to snow, there's not a lot I can do with it. I can try to compact it. It depends on how much moisture is in there. For the most part, it's pretty powdery. So let's compare that to the snow that we actually have on the ground. And the reality is, it's pretty powdery too. I can't really make a snowball or anything with it, so might not be the best snow for, say, making a snowman or having a snowball fight. However, with the powdery snow, it's going to be easier to shovel, so that's good news. It's still going to be easy to go sledding. If you're a skier, this is going to be some fresh downhill skiing snow for you guys. But of course, we'll keep you guys up to date a little later in the show about what this will mean for those who have to be out shoveling later on today.
Probably good news for all the plow trucks out there, too. There's at least 32 of the Madison
really
ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right, 6:24 your time now. Josh Spreiter is keeping us updated on the road conditions this morning. He's going to have the very latest on what you can expect for your drive to work.
And once we get through all this snow, we could see our first day in 5 years where we don't have positive temperatures all day. We'll share how you should be preparing your pipes for that kind of deep freeze when News 3 This Morning returns. If you're wondering if you need to leave extra time to shovel this morning, we have live coverage on how heavy the snow is, where it's falling, and what it will take to clear it.
Most schools are closed this morning and the roads continue to worsen. I'm Josh Brutter, live tracking the latest for your morning commute. Our special live team coverage starts now.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning. We want to start right away with team coverage of the snowstorm. Josh Breiter is live on the Beltline this morning with a look at conditions right now on your commute.
We are having a hard time finding any school outside of UW-Madison actually having classes today. Christina Laurie looks into the decision to cancel, but let's start with Hattie McLean out on her patio. Hads, how's it looking out there?
Snowy. The answer is yes. You need to add extra time to get to your destination this morning if you'll be going at all. Snow continues to fall at a pretty moderate to heavy rate here on the west side of town. And we've been adding up the snow totals since we went on the air. We've added about 2 inches of snow here in the backyard weather patio. So winter storm warnings continue for most of the area yet this morning. We're looking at an additional 1 to 4 inches of snow on top of what has already fallen so far. And the roads are snow covered and slippery right now. I wouldn't expect that to improve over at least the next couple of hours because that snow is going to continue through midday today. Here's a look at Doppler track. The snow pretty widespread across the area. It sure took its time arriving yesterday, but once it started overnight, it's been pretty heavy since then. You can see those darker blue banded areas indicating some pretty heavy snow in and around Dane County right now, as well as to the north as you head up towards Toma and Camp Douglas. So keep in mind that the snow is expected to continue. The back edge extends all the way back into central Iowa down I-35. So several hours yet before the snow comes to an end. In Chicago this morning, they are right on the rain-snow line. O'Hare was reporting snow while Midway Airport was reporting rain at the same time. So that could cause some problems there if you have flights today. Our view from the Edgewater Skycam, not that good this morning. The snow is definitely reducing visibility. Temperatures will only climb a couple of degrees into the low 20s this afternoon. Snow should be winding down for the area from west to east by about lunchtime here in Madison. Let's take a look at those traffic maps, though. As you can imagine, with snow still falling, things are pretty slow going this morning. A lot of colors on the traffic maps, slow spots on the Beltline from end to end this morning. Also pretty slow on the interstate. No accidents to report right now, which is great news. But again, plan some extra time to get to your destination. Travel times are increased as speeds are reduced today. That's your First Alert traffic. And Josh, you are on the road this morning. What does it look like where you are?
Hey ads, good morning. We are headed east on the Beltline right now, approaching Gammon Road, and those conditions are starting to worsen. As you mentioned, that heavy snow in the area. We'll give you a closer look at the Beltline right now, which is still pretty well snow covered at this point. We have seen numerous crews out sanding, salting, and plowing, but they're having a hard time keeping up with all of that heavy snow. As the morning has progressed, we've also seen more. As you can see, there's a spin out right up here on the right. We've got headlights pointing towards us. So obviously, there you go. That goes to show that conditions are not good out here on the roads, and I'm assuming that's why a lot of these schools have been closed. Again, officials are encouraging you to stay home today if you can. They say, according to the Dane County Sheriff's Office, if you stay home and you're not on the roads, you're not going to crash. So that's easy enough to understand right there. If you do crash, make sure to stay in your vehicle and call for help right away. Do not get out of your car because odds are there's probably another car that could end up coming off and hitting you as well. A couple other tips here. Make sure you are full with gas this morning and have extra windshield washer fluid available. We've had our windshield wipers freezing up a lot this morning because of all of this frozen mess. Again, we're headed east on the Beltline right now, and you can see the snow is still covering the roads. A lot of slippery conditions out here. We're heading about 35 miles an hour right now, and more traffic is coming out at this time. So we expect this to worsen as the morning commute ramps up, unless people stay home. And you can stay tuned to us here on News 3 This Morning and CBS This Morning. Our Christina Laurie is live in the studio right now talking about the latest school closings. And Christina, I can understand why most schools here in southern Wisconsin are closed today.
Yeah, Josh, looking at those roads and seeing that spin-off is definitely scary. Stay safe out there. There are more than 130 school districts across the area that have canceled classes this morning here in south central Wisconsin. So it's safe to say nearly everything is closed. Many of those districts serve large areas. For example, Middleton and Cross Plains share a school district serving both suburban and rural areas. We talked to the district's director of communications, who says there are times when the streets might be well plowed in the city of Middleton itself, but are poor elsewhere, so that in that case they delay or cancel school rather than put students and teachers in harm's way. Now, the day before a storm, area superintendents and the National Weather Service talk on several conference calls about conditions. If it looks like we'll end up on the high end of the snow forecast, and if it's still likely to be snowing during the morning commute, they usually call off classes. But like today, that didn't happen in advance for many districts. The UW is perhaps the only school in our area still holding class today. The Madison campus just announced on Twitter within the last hour they are expecting classes to go on as usual, so students there pack your boots. As for Madison College, they are closed right now, but will open at 1 o'clock.
All right, Christina Laurie reporting live from studio here, and Josh Spreiter live out on the Beltline. Thank you both. And while the priority is keeping you and your kids' bus drivers safe out on the roads, there are efforts to limit the amount of road salt used in storms like this to limit the impact on lakes in our area. Crews in places like Dane County are using brine, which is a 23% salt and water solution. They're also using sand instead of rock salt when possible. The city of Madison uses about 300 pounds of rock salt still per mile of road, but the street crews say that they try to cut back if at all possible.
Now, this snow is just the start to our winter problems this week. After the storm comes more single-digit and negative-degree temperatures. Now, before that happens, the Madison Water Utility wants to make sure you take steps to make sure your pipes don't freeze. They recommend double-checking outdoor spigots to make sure all of your hoses are disconnected. It's also a good idea to insulate pipes that are in unheated areas like crawl spaces and attics. If you're going to be out of town for a couple of days, they also recommend you keep the thermostat on at least 55 degrees and open any cabinets where sink plumbing is against an outside wall.
We want to remind you that our First Alert Weather and Traffic app is free on all of your mobile devices. You can see in real time how this snow will impact you, how long it will last, what the radar looks like, plus up to the minute traffic information. Just search for Channel 3000 to download that app.
6:35 your time now. At the state capitol, a measure that would guarantee insurance coverage for people with pre-existing conditions is headed for the state Senate after assembly members passed it last night. Republicans did amend the bill to meet some, but not all, of Governor Evers' demands, including eliminating yearly and lifetime caps. The chamber passed the bill 76-19. It is not clear whether the Senate will even vote on the measure or if Governor Evers would sign it.
Wisconsin Congressman Mark Pocan says he and other lawmakers will voluntarily work without pay to show solidarity for federal workers missing another paycheck this week. Pocan spent some time yesterday touring the Dane County Regional Airport. He spoke with TSA workers there as well as air traffic controllers who are currently working without pay. He said morale is good and the airlines flying in and out of Madison have actually been buying food for those employees. We're now on day 33 for the shutdown, and lawmakers on Capitol Hill are getting ready to vote on multiple bills aimed at reopening the federal government. One bill proposed by Republicans is built around President Trump's proposal, which does include funding for a wall at the U.S.-Mexico border in exchange for temporary protections for so-called dreamers who were brought here to the U.S. illegally as children. House Democrats passed the other bill under consideration that funds the government through February 8th without wall funding. Neither of those bills is expected to get enough votes to pass. 6:36 right now. The kids are probably safe to stay in the PJs this morning because we are having a hard time finding a school district that is not closed today.
And if you're still in the pajamas, avoiding the inevitable shoveling, Chris Reese showing us just how heavy that snowfall is. Maybe you can convince him to just swing by your house, take care of ours as well. That update is next on News 3 this morning. Okay, so if you need to plan your escape from all the snow this morning, there's still time. There's a Sun Country flight leaving from the Dane County Airport at 2:20 this afternoon, still on time. It can take you here to Tampa, Florida.
That doesn't even look real this morning. My goodness.
Kind of mean, producer Melby. I'll take it though. Okay, speaking of sunnier places, Jim Bradley posted this picture on Facebook for this News 3 morning. He titled it, "Think Summer Really Hard."
Maybe it will come, question mark?
Yeah, I don't know about that, Jim, but I do appreciate a little throwback to the better times.
Yeah. Oh, just different.
That's true. It is nice outside.
It is beautiful,
today.
just in a very different way. And I think we'd appreciate some warmth. So thank you, Jim, for providing that. What does your morning look like? Take a picture and post it on our Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever it is. Use that hashtag MyNews3Morning so we can find it. So if you haven't been outside to shovel the sidewalks yet, I know I'd be procrastinating if I were you. We have some encouraging news to share. It might not be so bad.
Yeah, that's according to Chris Reese, at least. It says this dry, fluffy snow, not so bad to be hanging out in. How's it going out there, Chris?
It's going well. Of course, I'm enjoying it, but I'm a snow lover myself, so I'm sure that's no surprise. But with temperatures that are in the teens, this snow does not have as much water content, which means it's actually going to be a little bit lighter in weight. So I've been out here practicing, trying to get my northern skill set up. And honestly, the lighter snow, not bad to move at all. And that's good just because light, fluffy snow like what we have right now only weighs about 5 to 7 pounds per cubic foot. So shoveling that is going to be easier. And one of the things you want to know, try to keep your back straight. I may not be doing it the best, but lift with your legs. That's what they say. Now, on the other side of me, things are a little bit different. This snow's been here for a while. This, oh boy, is heavier, compact snow, which weighs about 20 to 25 pounds per cubic foot. Now, this has been here for a couple of days, which is why, but any of that fresh snow that is on the ground should be much lighter, which is going to bode well for those who have to shovel. Just because the city does have an ordinance, you're going to need to get your driveways and sidewalks clear by noon today, or you could face a fine for first-time offenders.
Ooh. Yeah, noon tomorrow, I think, Chris, just to make sure, because it's once the snow stops. So don't worry, snow might still be falling.
Good news.
Don't panic.
Yeah, that is good news, because the snow won't end until about noon today.
Right. And
yes.
I think you'll get some calls, Chris, right now to the weather office hiring you for some shoveling duties because you're doing a great job.
Well, if it pays more than weather, I might take them up, but that could be tough.
All right. You get to play in snow, though, Chris. Come on.
That's true.
I'm having the time of my life. Trust me.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
I would totally hire Chris just to see that smile.
There you go.
All right. 6:43 your time now. We cannot say it enough. Take it slow out on the roads today. You saw that slide out on the Beltline Josh Ryder was driving toward. It's going to be a slippery one, especially after the overnight snowfall that's still coming down this morning. Hattie's going to tell us how much more we can expect by the time all is said and done.
First, though, it is January 23rd, and we want to say happy birthday to Nadia, Illa, and all of the kids turning 3 today. Hope you have the day off for some snow fun, and thanks for celebrating with News 3 this morning.
your friend.
Good morning from the News 3 First Alert Weather Center. I wanted to show you this picture sent in by one of our viewers, Bob. This is of his mom in the winter of 1978-79. She's standing in her driveway. He writes that she is 5'4" for reference. Now, the winter of 1978-79 was one of the worst winters, snowiest by far, up until the winter of 2007-8. There were over 76 inches of snow here in Madison that winter. For reference, we've gotten just over 16, but we are adding to that. This current storm is going to add up to 5 to 10 inches. That's total snow. Now, this is additional snow that will fall yet this morning. We're still looking at a 1 to 3 inch snow total again as we head towards the lunch hour. Earlier it was 3 to 5, but we've already added a couple since the show started this morning. Roads are snow covered and slippery this morning, so take it easy if you have to go out. Winter storm warnings continue for all those counties shaded in pink, and it goes until noon here in Madison. So the snow is expected to continue for several hours yet. Here's a look at your probability of precipitation. Still running rather high over the next 3 hours or so. By the time we get to 10, 11 o'clock, those numbers start to drop back, and by lunchtime, snow should be coming to an end for most of the area. Now, here's a look at the radar map, though. It's pretty widespread right now. We're seeing snow covering all of southern Wisconsin, some heavier bands as well, south of Baraboo down through the western edge of Dane County, some pretty heavy snow right now. It's all moving off to the north and east. The back edge of this snow still in central Iowa, right along I-35. So several hours yet before this system moves through the area. Chicago is right on that rain snow line this morning, so that may be causing some delays at the airports. None recorded. However, there have been several cancellations already, so if you are flying today, you'll want to call ahead. Here's a look at your forecast then. Once the storm system passes by to the east, impacting the eastern part of the country, we get a little break from the snow. The next cold front, though, is going to be a big one. It'll bring a few flurries, but it brings Arctic air with it. Strong northerly winds setting in for Thursday afternoon, causing very frigid conditions for the area. We're going to be talking wind chills in the double digits below zero and for several days in a row. Take a look at our current temperatures. 18 in Madison this morning and upper teens across all of southern Wisconsin. So not a bad start to the day temperature-wise. That snow is expected to continue. We'll take a look at future track. You can time out the ending of the snow today. By 10 o'clock, it's starting to break up in southwestern Wisconsin. That trend then continues as we go through the rest of the day. By lunchtime, snow coming to an end for most of us. The skies just variably cloudy through the afternoon with temperatures holding in the low 20s or close to 20 degrees. Here's a look at your extended forecast then. It is going to be a cold start tomorrow. We're looking at temperatures starting in the single digits above zero. Turning windy on Thursday with temperatures topping only in the teens. Friday and Saturday are alert days. Look at those overnight low temperatures, double digits below zero. Wind chills around 30 to 35 below in the morning. So alert days in the forecast for those frigid conditions. Our pet walk forecast this morning, well, this was taken on a much nicer day, that is for sure. Phoebe and Reed and Mineral Point, I bet those two will have fun playing in the snow today. Temperatures will at least be in the low 20s. We'll be back right after this.
6:53, time for the morning sprint. Josh Spreiter's been out on the roads all morning. He has a live update on a crash near Todd Drive and the Beltline that's slowing down traffic.
And we found one school district breaking with more than 140 others in our area, canceling class for today. Christina Laurie has an update on the school watch list. But we start with Hattie's First Alert forecast. Good morning, Hads.
Good morning. Snow continues for the area this morning. Winter storm warning still in effect for the entire region. We're going to add another 1 to 3 inches of snow across the area by noon today. Roads are snow covered and slippery as that snow continues. You see it's pretty consistent across the entire area. That snow is widespread for southern Wisconsin. It'll last through the lunch hour here in Madison, coming to an end from west to east this morning. Temperatures will hold steady in the low 20s with a northwest wind today.
I'm Josh Spreiter live on the Beltline this morning, where the Dane County Sheriff's Office is encouraging you to stay home if you can. We'll give you a closer look right now. We are heading west on the Beltline, just passing Whitney Way, and those roads are completely snow covered this morning as the plows are having a hard time keeping up with all of that heavy snow, especially now with more traffic out on the roads. There was a crash on the eastbound or the eastbound side of the Beltline near Todd Drive that had traffic moving very slowly. On that side, we have seen numerous spinouts this morning, so if you can, stay home. But if you are headed out, be prepared and be patient. We'll continue updating you throughout the morning.
The 7,000 students and 900 teachers in the Beloit School District will have class today. This news just coming in as well. Over 100 schools have already canceled classes, including the Madison School District. But making that call to close is often tougher than you may think for administrators. Several factors go into that decision, including when the snow arrives, whether crews can clear the roads in time for buses and cars, and what driving conditions will be like when it's time to pick students up from school. The UW is open today as well, with the Madison campus tweeting they expect classes to go on as usual. Madison College has also canceled classes this morning, but will open at 1.
You know, the road conditions were slippery, so driving down here, we had to take our time getting down here.
That's the assistant fire chief in Sun Prairie, who says the weather affected his team's response time last night when they were called to a fire. That family is out of their home this morning after extensive damage to that house.
It is emergencies like that that's prompting the Madison Water Utility to ask you to shovel out your neighborhood fire hydrant. There are more than 9,000 hydrants within city limits. Crews say having them cleared can make all the difference during fire calls.
Republican lawmakers are doubting Governor Evers' plan, that is, to pull the state out of a lawsuit over the Affordable Care Act, even if it's legal. Now, Governor Tony Evers announced his plans to do that in his State of the State address Tuesday night. In order for Attorney General Josh Kaul to pursue that, however, the legislature has to approve the process. That requirement was passed in last month's lame duck session.
One of the first things out of the gate that he directed the Attorney General to do was to violate the law and to withdraw from the ACA against state statutes. So that's concerning to us.
Republican lawmakers are asking whether it's even legal for Governor Evers to ask Attorney General Josh Kaul to drop out of the Affordable Care Act lawsuit. Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald is also warning Governor Evers to give up on his plan to expand Medicaid.
A measure that would guarantee insurance coverage for people with pre-existing conditions here in Wisconsin is headed for the state Senate after Assembly members passed it last night. Republicans amended that bill to meet some, if not all, of Governor Evers' demands, including eliminating yearly and lifetime caps. The chamber passed the bill 76 to 19 votes. It's unclear whether the Senate will vote on the measure or if Governor Evers would sign it.
6:56 your time now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with another look at your snowy First Alert traffic. Hey, Josh.
As expected, with snow still falling, the Beltline is moving slow in both directions. A few crashes and slide-offs reported this morning, along with very slick ramps and bridges. The usual crowd is showing up on inbound John Olin near the Olin Avenue intersection heading into downtown. And watching a crash now on I-90 westbound just north of I-94 exit. It is blocking the right-hand shoulder. With your First Alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, plan a lot of extra time to get to your destination this morning. Here's what it looks like on the west side of town. We've had at least 2 inches of snowfall just in the time of the show, so in the last 2.5 hours.
Wow.
So the snow has been pretty heavy this morning. It continues for all of southern Wisconsin right now. Some bands of heavier snow will work their way through Dane County over the next hour. We're going to add another 1 to 3 inches of snow yet before noon today.
All right, be careful out there. Pay attention on the roads. We'll see you tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.